and hopefully we get all four. I do have a meeting with the Forest Service, a person that hopefully by January we'll know. Last year, yeah, this one's strictly through the Forest Service. We don't have the state of Idaho. Instead of having the middleman going through the state. One thing that's going to help us is the way that our county plays out in their scheme, and in their scheme that says we're underserved, so that raises higher, and then in the priority you get a grant through that.
Yeah.
And then October is the normal grant season for like the Western Fire Managers. There's several others I usually go after. So here for the next 3 to 4 months, that's basically what I'm going to be doing, is writing grant proposals.
Okay.
How are we on collecting the funds from the previous grant?
Still back. We're in the pile somewhere. We have one. I'm going to send him more information today, and he told me as soon as he got that information, he would put that one in for payment. But we still have 2 more sitting somewhere on somebody's desk.
And they've already been put in for payment.
Pardon?
They've
Well, I talked to him 2 months ago. He said he had $1.2 million worth of reimbursement sitting on his desk. And he was
Okay. Well, thank you for the update. Hopefully our fire season is starting to wind down.
Up for winter preparations. Right now, what we're doing so we've purchased it. Now we've got to haul it back to the respective shops, so we're ready. The 3 northern districts is approximately 4,500 tons of sanding materials, so it's a lot of hauling, but we'll be ready for winter when it comes. Aside from that, Murray Cutoff, the Pritchard Murray Cutoff. The site's referred to as Miller Way. It's a recurring project that we do every couple or 3 years. We had some more slide. We were hoping to wait and push it off until next year, but due to the additional slide, from the Murray district, and 3 or 4 from our Osborne district, and some extra equipment up there. It's going to take approximately 2 to 3 weeks to get everything. Which is in the Copper Camp area there on Coeur d'Alene River Road. While we have our horses and our equipment up there, we're going to replace the culvert. The frost heaves just killed us last year. It just pushed it over the edge. The pavement across the roadway is all broken up. It's not going to make it through winter. So we are going to take care of that when we're up there, and that's going to kind of round out our season. We're going to mobilize the equipment up there, starting the 5th. And it'll take a couple days to kind of get set up there, and then we'll start the work on the 11th. We're planning it for after the holiday. We get a little less traffic up there, and you're still going to get the traffic from hunting. We're not planning on any, longer than just a few minutes at a time road closures, because there's no detours. So we have to do what we can do to keep that open for emergency access. But we're going to put a reader board up there starting the week of the 5th. Just to let the residents know that there will be some intermittent delays up there in the area. Those are the big. It worked out really well for us because we worked in tandem with for them, but they actually footed the bill for the culvert. And our department was in talks with Hecla. We like to work with them in partner. And they recognize that. They know that we are on a limited budget for our roughly 375 miles of roadway. So we kind of look at things as the needs arise, as the number of residents that are served, as the condition of the roadway. And they hired that out. So all we did was just kind of partnered with them to utilize a couple of our trucks for about 4 hours. And so the culvert's been replaced up there. So we were in good shape. That was another one that was not going to last through the winter. The pavement was completely broken up there. So we ended up in good shape there. Other than that, things going on. This week, I am working to finish up the final details on a strategic initiatives grant. And the project that I've applied for is some pavement rehabilitation between Big Creek and roughly the area of NASCO there. Silver Valley Road, it's in really rough shape. That roadway doesn't always qualify for all of the funding. It fit right into this wheelhouse. And so we're going to get that application out by the end of the week. So hopefully we'll have some good news to report on that one, because it's a big one and it's a zero match. So that would be one that we would be very fortunate if we're awarded that one. Another grant application that I submitted last month was for a $100,000 RAC grant for some improvements to Old River Road. I attended the RAC committee meeting. I presented my project in person. There were so many projects presented that they had to go into another meeting on the 15th of September, which I will attend that one also to answer any questions. So hopefully I'll have some good news at our next briefing, because I think $100,000 to go into that road would be greatly appreciated by the community. And it's $100,000 to go into that road that the road department doesn't have. So that is one that we would be doing some work ourselves. And the money that we're asking for is for the materials. So it makes the project go further. It makes the money go further than if we were to contract it all out. And that's the bulk of the big stuff. Kind of getting back to some of the budget discussions. I did have a meeting Facebook. I wanted to alleviate any fears of jobs going away in our department or, salaries being cut at this time. And so we just had a good hour-long session of questions and answers. And, so at least they were able to hear from us. Commissioner Dose, just in passing, I mentioned I was having a meeting yesterday after the budget meeting, and he said, do you think it would help to have the commissioner present? And I said, absolutely. It would be great to have a commissioner present in case they have any questions, and then they know they're really hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And so, I think they appreciated, having a representative from the board there to answer any questions. And overall, I think the meeting went, fairly well. And it was nice to have that conversation before anything, hit the newspaper. So.
to do the application?
I was surprised that other than the racks presented by employees of the Forest Service, that I was the only person from a local highway jurisdiction to show up and present. I mean, Jim Roletta was there to present his project for Benawa. But other than that, everybody else, came, via Zoom, which was fine, but I think it's better to be there in person, take the time. It just shows that we took the time and it's important to us. There are some discussions that'll be had at the next meeting at the next RAC meeting that, I don't want to put the cart too far in front of the horse, but, I've discussed with the board several times that our last RAC attempt in our department was in 2019 for the Tunnel 34. Left a sour taste in my mouth because it was $100,000 that was awarded to us in 2019, and we've not seen that funding come through, and it's 2023. We've spent the money, we've not been reimbursed the money. I've been very vocal with Forest Service about that. Reason for that not funding was strictly due to Forest Service turnover in the Forest Service, turnover with the person in the Forest Service that manages the RAC. The buck kept getting passed, and then the agreement that Shoshone County signed with Forest Service ultimately expired, and there was no option of an extension. So behind the scenes, there are a couple of options, but it might entail, if we're awarded make it up to the county and make it whole. They're working hard behind the scenes, and that's why I really haven't discussed much, because it's so up in the air right now what's going to happen, and I really won't know what's going to happen until the 15th of September. And so my hope is that we're awarded a larger sum of money than what we've applied for, to kind of make up for the $100,000 burden that really happened with Tunnel 34, because those were improvements that were supposed to be made, fixes that were supposed to be made. We knew that the portal was going to fail, and we were awarded that money, and Forest Service said, yes, you can spend that $100,000, but you can't spend it before the agreements are all signed. Do not spend any money, and do not spend any money until you get the green light. So we didn't spend any money, and by not spending money, ultimately what happened was the portal failed, and we had to spend emergency funds. We had to spend $240,000 that we hadn't planned to spend on that. And so my hope is that while it won't help with the deficit on that project, that, because of that unfortunate circumstance, more money will come into the road department for more projects on roads that qualify for the RAC. And so I'll keep pushing on that, and I'll keep you guys informed. Hopefully we'll have good news on the 15th.
Okay.
Commissioner, anything you'd like to?
Not much, just the budget. Don't know how that's all going.
Yeah, it's public.
Yeah,
It's been done very public. I don't know if the county's ever had this many budget meetings, public budget meetings.
Commissioner, anything you'd add?
No, just same as we're working hard on this budget and trying to preserve our valuable employees, and we need to find revenue.
And people are asking where this budget problem came from. And I was working with my accountant this week and looking at our own county audit statements. It looks like we've actually been budgeting for a deficit for the last 5 years, which could only lead to eventually running out of money. It looks like this county spends more than it takes. So same thing we've been repeating in our budget meetings, and I repeated at Jessica's staff meeting yesterday. We're going to try to ease this sudden shortfall using grant money and using sales of property and things, but that won't make the problem go away for next year. The county still spends more than it takes in, I think. And so I know Jeff's been in contact with the state. I've reached out to the state. We are working on some kind of an external audit to help us understand how much it's cost, but money that we did not have. In time, you'll see us doing temporary things, and you'll see us doing long range things like getting an audit, getting some information, and then we'll have to act on it. I mean, it's no different at your own house. If you discovered that you added up all your car payments and you're spending $500 a month more than you take in your salary, you'd have to make changes. And I think that's where the county has put itself. And some folks want us to do more finger pointing and all of that. Right now, I think all of our energy's gone into trying to solve the problem. And don't believe everything you read don't believe everything you read, social media, etc. But do come to us with your questions. I think the commission's been very transparent about. We've done everything in public meetings to try and let the public know. And we're going to continue those because we've got to have a budget. I asked the prosecutor, what happens if we don't have a budget by September 5th? He said the law doesn't even contemplate such a crisis. So they didn't even allow for not doing that. But we feel like we're still trying to do that, I think, with not all the information that we would like. So you'll see us making estimates and guesses until we can get to the bottom of it. I appreciate, yesterday we had a meeting of the elected officials and the sheriff. My hat's off to the sheriff, if I have my hat, coming up with painful cuts, which is ultimately what's going to probably dig us out of the hole because we're spending more than we take in. And we're now trying to figure out how do we make cuts without whacking service to the taxpayer who still gets to pay another increase in taxes this year. Now they're paying it to cover past years. If you hear, my job is gone or something, I would just suggest you go straight to your employer, your supervisor, and ask. And that's kind of what our message was. So one of the guys yesterday at that meeting asked, well, why is he here? I said, I'd rather answer your questions in person than on Facebook. And they were fair questions, but I think I want to start preparing the county. This is not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It's if you found out at your house you were spending more than you take in your salary, you'd do something about it. And that's just, we happen to be in the position of, we've discovered a problem and now we have to fix it. And that's probably going to involve continuing to trim and prune until we get the county down to where our income matches our outgo. Because we haven't had a balanced budget according to our audit in at least the last 5 years. So that being said, any questions from any of you for any of the commissioners?
I don't have a question, but I do have to make a correction on this. The captain just got back to me and we're sitting at 55 inmates, not 49.
55.
Our capacity is 48.
Apparently our capacity is 55.
It is today.
It is today. It would just help if people costs and crime is up all over, and inflation, I think, are driving it. So it's just tough news. Any other questions or comments from the crowd? Sydney, anything you'd like to add?
Nope.
I have to remember to include Sydney because she sits there quietly and professionally and absorbs hours of budget meetings without complaining. I'd get her flowers, but it's not in the budget. Yeah, I'll
And a
bring you
great
something from the
asset.
garden. So, all right. Well, we've got a budget. Yeah.
One thing, I just did remember, and since it's right here, right there, the boiler, we need to address that boiler downstairs, because one of them's offline, and we need to get it back online before winter. So
Go ahead and check out, see how much it's gonna be and then come
I
back.
think they've sent us all that's,
I'll call CSN,
Okay.
yeah, Control Solutions, yeah.
because when I talked to them last, they said they had forwarded all that to you. But I never received anything. I can follow up on that too. It just popped in my head, the one thing I was thinking about the weather.
We had talked about that.
Yeah.
Sheriff, I
August,
think
had
you're,
gotten a call.
you've got one too that's a problem, one of your boilers.
So, yeah, always a problem. I'm not
So
sure what
let's
the status
look at
is.
that and,
Okay.
But our air conditioning works this year.
because we do have the LATCF funds that we need to, if we have problems like that, we need to get them taken care of early.
You have there was the set aside specific to HVAC in the SLFR. That's at 800,000 set aside.
Okay.
And so currently, I think it's at like about 400,000
Okay.
of the 800. We're still, let me see if I have my numbers right there.
So we have some money set aside that can help us with our
Yeah.
boilers.
Right. And that so that would be, if we're done with the air conditioner work, then that is still set aside. That was all HVAC amount. that was set
Okay.
aside.
Okay, I'll call
that's,
for the call. Expansion tank blew last year. It
Yep.
caused major problems, so
Yeah.
it needs to be replaced. So the motherboard and the other one. And
So the sheriff has old boilers.
What's been.
I do.
Sure.
Among other things. Yeah.
Sounds like a personal problem.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your time being here today. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.